All right, in this video, we're going to talk about what a complete newbie should know about church video live streaming. Thank you, Hewitt Klink, for the picture of your son who's learning how to use his IP joystick. So today, we're going to talk about quite a few things. This is going to be a long video. Hopefully we'll get through it and you'll learn a lot. It's going to be fun. Don't worry, we're going to get through it. This is chapter 4 of our Helping Your Church live stream book. So houses of worship are unique spaces, as we know, and they require a lot of attention to detail. So we're luckily going to be talking specifically about houses of worship, but also taking this from a, hey, I don't know anything yet. Let's really dig into it and start from the beginning here. So when it comes time to designing a live streaming system for your church, you have to think about your organization's goals. If your media team is currently recording and editing videos of your services to upload to YouTube or Facebook, we can actually skip that step potentially by live streaming it and adding some live video production. That's one of the beauties of live production. In fact, I have a quote here from Bryce Boynton, the audio director of the Flatirons Community Church in Lafayette, Colorado. He says, "I'm very excited that Flatirons is now live streaming services to the web. This has been a huge undertaking because we always post-produce services for the web, and they spend a lot of time contemplating how to maintain quality now in a live setting. And the goal in this is to have a post-produced quality service by the time the last chord is played." And I think that's really powerful. That's kind of what we're talking about here, where you can have it all done. Forget those hours of post-production that your team was spending. Put them to use doing something much better. And I'm going to talk about the most basic live streaming setup everywhere. If you're starting here, don't worry. Hey, we all got to start somewhere. So this is a USB webcam and a USB microphone plugged into a computer running Open Broadcaster software. Open Broadcaster software, which I think we'll look at in a little bit here. All right, we'll go back to that in a second. It's just a free live streaming software that allows you to stream to YouTube, stream to Facebook, make localized recordings as well. And we'll talk about how to do all of that. But at the basics, you might have just a webcam. Now, a step up would be a camcorder with an HDMI to USB 3.0 capture card. So what this allows you to do is use a more professional camera that has optical zoom, that can zoom in, and this allows you to capture that video, because this camcorder was really meant for, let's say, home videos, or maybe if you got a more professional one, professional videos. But it wasn't meant to do live streaming. But if we take the HDMI output, plug that into a capture card and make sure this thing is plugged in so it doesn't run out of battery in the middle of our service, we can use that as our camera source. Now, what about that giant audio mixer that we have in place? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about in a little bit how to really tweak that audio mixer to sound good and maybe create a custom mix for our live stream. But right now, what I just want to talk about is we need to find a way to connect that existing audio mixer to our live streaming computer. And that is done with a device called a USB audio interface. It takes either an XLR or a 1/4 inch audio output, and it plugs it in directly into your computer via USB. Now, there's two different types generally of cables that will come through here. It could be an XLR cable or a 1/4 inch, but it could be stereo or it could be mono. If it's a mono cable, mono output, that has right and left channels summed together into a single channel. If it's a stereo output, you'll see two outputs, left and right. We need to bring two cables in. That's why you will often see a USB interface like this with two inputs and a USB output. So that is just a very simple, easy way to connect your live streaming computer to your existing audio mixer. Now we need to choose a live streaming software to run on it. And I have OBS there. You can see it's the biggest bubble. It's probably the most popular of all live streaming systems out there. And the thing that we want to talk about is feature richness versus ease of use. And you can see the higher up it is the more feature rich the software is. And the further to the right is the easier it is to use. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Facebook has a built-in streaming app. You can go right to Facebook, you can plug in your USB webcam and microphone, and you can stream to it. It's the easiest thing ever, but it doesn't have a lot of built-in features, right? Not the way that OBS, XSplit, or Wirecast does. So this is something that you need to contemplate and think about and maybe do a little bit of research on. But the core concept here, and I was talking to our production expert over here, Michael, about this, is that once you spend a year using a piece of software, you've developed a sense of ease with that software. You've learned how to use that software, and you've gotten over a steep learning curve, right? There's a learning curve with any new software. And sometimes you don't want to throw that whole year of experience out the window just because you have to move to another live streaming software that has the features that you need. So it's really, you got to think about this. Are you going to want the ability to have multiple channels of overlay? Are you going to want the ability to stream to multiple destinations at the same time? Are you going to want Facebook and YouTube social media integration? These are things that come with the Wirecasts and the vMixes that aren't in the OBS. Now, I will say that OBS, if you decide to go with this software, and this is a nice little look at it, and we'll go over the way it is set up, it's not a bad software to get started on. It's completely free, and you can do a lot with it. It's just as you grow and you want to kind of connect multiple team members together, you might want to think about using a more advanced software. If you have a large plan in mind, start with the more expensive software. It's a little harder to use up front, but it'll have the features that you want down the road. Let's take a look at OBS here in a little more detail. So on this is in studio mode. When you get OBS, you might just see a single screen. Hit that studio mode button, and it really opens up a lot of new features, which allows you to kind of build what you want to show on the preview screen and then transition it to the output screen. So preview on the right, preview on the left, live output on the right. So enable studio mode, and you can configure settings. The other cool setting I have applied here is what's called the Ranchy theme, which turns that kind of whitish gray background to a darker gray, which is easier on the eyes. But you can see we have a sources area, so we can add a scene, and we can add sources. So scenes are collections of sources, and sources are cameras, microphones, images, media, and those are the things that you use to build out a screen there. So once you have what you're building out in the preview screen, you can use the transition effects to transition it over to the live output that you might be streaming and or recording at the same time. Now on vMix, it's just a little bit different. You can see how much, I'd say a lot easier to use really. At the bottom, you're seeing the available sources. So each camera input has a live preview. With OBS, we're looking at just like just text really. You can actually see what the cameras are doing. You can click each one. You have a live preview. You have a live output. You have multiple transition effects, full screen outputs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about what you can do with some of this software. Obviously, you can record and stream at the same time. The thing I like about vMix is you can stream to 3 destinations at the same time. And I wanted to show this off really quickly. This is a 3-monitor setup, and we're going to go over a case study about this later, but a lot of churches will use 3 monitors, and there's a good reason why. 1 monitor would be for your live streaming software. The second monitor would be for a full screen camera view or potentially a multi-view, maybe a mix of 4 cameras per se. And then the third screen would be for your PowerPoint, your Pro Presenter, or your Easy Worship PowerPoint slides, if you will. So that's just a standard layout, and we'll talk a little bit about that soon. But let's talk about resolutions, bit rates, and bandwidth. So this is just some core knowledge that any newbie is going to have to kind of walk down this path to learn. So depending on the resolution and frame rate that you are deciding to use, most churches are still using either 1080p at 30 frames a second or 1080p or 720p at 30 frames per second. It will affect the bandwidth, okay, which is technically the bit rate that you are streaming at. So just for example, the very first one, if we are streaming in 4K at 30 frames a second at what would be considered a high quality bit rate or bandwidth requirement, it would be 30 megabits per second. Now, that would be 30 megabits per second of upload speed that we would need to have a high quality 4K stream. Now let's jump down. Let's go down to 1080p 30 at a medium setting, which is probably where you're going to be at 4.5 megabits per second. Now here in Philadelphia where we are, we have an internet speed from Comcast, which is 100 megabits download speed, but it's only 20 megabits of upload speed. And you should always generally have 50% headroom. So you don't want to use all of your upload speed, or you'll actually have dropped frames and things will actually start to fluctuate and mess with your stream. So you never want to use all of it. So if we wanted to stream to Facebook and YouTube, in 1080p in a medium quality at 4.5, we would be using two 4.5 streams, upload bit rates, one to YouTube, one to Facebook. That would be 9 megabits per second. We've only got 20 megabits per second upload, and we have to keep 50% headroom. So that's all we have that's all we have the bandwidth for. So when we think about options for streaming, you might want to do maybe one low bitrate one for Facebook. Facebook is fine with 720. Maybe do a higher quality one with YouTube, and then leave that headroom for all kinds of fluctuation in your network and your internet access. So that just gives you an idea of the different bit rates, and this is all explained in the book, obviously, and I'll paste some more detailed information in the resources below. But that just gives you an idea of your options for streaming and the thinking about each bit rate. Now let's talk about CCLI licensing. So you have CCIL licenses for all of your Christian music that you are either storing the lyrics for, printing songs, so if your church is printing songs, recording services, making custom arrangements, projecting the lyrics on the screen, or translating songs. So if it's any of the popular Christian songs, the top 10, I'll do the top 5 most popular Christian songs of 2019, Reckless Love, What a Beautiful Name, This Is Amazing Grace, and Great Are You, Lord, and then 10,000 Reasons. Those are written by musicians who have publishing rights, and we have to pay for the rights to use that. Luckily, the CCLI offers incredibly affordable licenses that we can use to legally not only live stream, but also record and make these, make actually CDs even, and I'll talk a little bit about this. So first of all, you need to get your copyright license, and your copyright license the cost of it depends on how many members you have in your church. So you can see if you have less than 25 members, you're only going to be charged $61 per year. And that allows you to print the songs, store the songs, record the songs, make custom arrangements, project them on your projectors, and translate them if you need be. So yes, it gets a little bit more expensive. If you have 1,000 members, each person only has to pay 50 cents each, per year. So it's incredibly affordable in my opinion, but notice that there's 2 optional add-on licenses. One is for streaming and one is for rehearsal. And you'll notice that the streaming options are even cheaper than the base cost of the copyright licenses, but you do need to add on these licenses if you plan to be streaming the music that is copywritten to these publishers. So one of the little tips here I have is that if you have the CCIL copyright license, go ahead and put that information on your website and put that information in the description of your YouTube and Facebook videos so that if people see that, you won't, if you get flagged for a copyright violation, you've got a leg to stand on. It does happen, but we'll talk about how to avoid that. So basically you have the right, okay, let me just read this out so I get this proper here. When it comes to performing, recording, and live streaming Christian music, you have to obtain the appropriate legal rights to use them. Many of the songs that your church performs may actually be free under public domain, and public domain music is available to the public for free and therefore is not subject to copyright license. And you can find a list of popular public domain music online, but most popular songs, thousands and thousands of them, are available through the CCLI license, the copyright license, the Christian Copyright License International. Now, the basic license and the 2 add-on licenses is what we're looking at today. So the first is called the rehearsal license. This allows your team to share audio recordings for rehearsing so that they can share them at home via email or even an external worship planning software like Planning Central, OnSong, or ProPresenter. The second is the streaming license, which covers all the streaming and podcasting for your worship services. And keep in mind that these licenses only cover the usage of live recorded audio. So that means your band has to record it live, okay? Perform, and it is recorded live. You cannot have the band/artist's music playing in the background. That music is copywritten in addition, which you'd have to pay for mechanical licenses for, and you will get a copyright violation and strike if your band is playing to the background, or even if you're just playing the author's music. This license doesn't cover that. This license covers your band playing the live recorded music. And generally, your band is not going to be exactly 100% the same as the musician who recorded it, right? With a different voice, different instruments, different town, different city, different microphones. So you won't get a copyright violation from YouTube or Facebook unless you're playing copywritten music in the background. So that's really the takeaway there. And then finally, if your church would like to create a CD, you can do this. It's actually covered under the basic CCLI license. In any given year, you can sell a number of CDs that is no greater than 15% of your maximum number of people. So if you have 500 to 999 copyright license category, then you could sell 149 CDs under your existing license. And you can sell them for a maximum price of $4. The reason why this is because it's really intended for shut-ins. Those who are supporters of the church that can't make it in can still get the CD copies available. So hopefully that gave you a good idea. There's more information in the book, and we're actually doing an upcoming webinar on that as well. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But that gives you an overview of how to be, let's make sure that you're legal here. Now, the next thing is actually going out and making sure that you are doing right by the privacy and consideration of your congregation. So it's very important to notify the members of your church that you're recording and live streaming video inside the church. It can be easily done in weekly bulletins or handouts and on the website's privacy statement. The Calvary Lutheran Church in Westchester, which my wife and I go to, say that some of our worship services are regularly recorded and posted online. If you have a concern, please contact the pastor. So that is a simple privacy statement that just says recording practices on the very first page of every handout. Now, further on the right side there, you can see that we say it's kind of a little bit more of a blurb about where you can find the live stream. And it says, can't make it to church? Watch us live. To view our 9:30 worship service on YouTube, go to YouTube and search for Calvary Lutheran Church Westchester in the search bar, click on the logo, click on the video tabs, and click on the Live Now button. And I won't read all of that, but essentially it just shows you who to get in touch with and how to find the live streams. People like to bring those handouts home, find the live stream, and watch it later on in the week. It's a great thing that people can do. So if you can't make it, if you want to share it online, that's how you find it. And I think that one of the great things about having a secondary bulletin portion, it also is a great place to ask for volunteers. Do you have a techie geek friend, uncle, or child who is interested in joining our volunteer program for the church media group? That's a great place to get new volunteers as well. Okay, so a note on analytics. One of the things that we've found, and I know a lot of churches have found, is that you get way more views on Facebook, but you get more view time on YouTube. And I think that you'll probably find this. It's worth looking out about this and figuring out what your church's goals are. What we found is that Facebook is great for just spreading the message and just getting it out there to as many people as possible. But a lot of times those people are on their phones, they're passing by, they look at it for a little bit, and then they go away. And you can look at your analytics and see how many of these people watched an hour-long service and how many of these people just watched 3 seconds as they were scrolling by. On YouTube, it's more of a destination. If people are tuning in and they want to watch it, maybe even there's so many smart TVs now, on their smart TV, they will watch for longer periods of time. So something to keep in mind. What do you care more about? What does your pastor care more about? Long, engaged views, or just getting the message out to as many people as possible? Facebook is great for that, and YouTube has become a great place for really getting those long live streams out there. Okay, that's what I consider the basics. Again, I'm going to post more resources for you to learn below. And next, we're going to get on to just covering the audio-visual basics out there of what the type of cables, connectors, and hardware that you're going to find building and maintaining a live streaming system. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I don't know if you know this, but we have a Facebook user group called Churches That Live Stream. And I really highly suggest you joining to learn more, collaborate with like-minded church media and pastors online, and then pick up the book. It's a great read. It's only $9.99. You can listen to it on Audible, and it's only $2.99 on Kindle. If you take my online course and you don't have the funds to buy the book, I do include excerpts from the book, everything you'll need to learn and help your church live stream for free.